Right. So I think in the first question, next. How do I transition?
Moving on to the next question. Are you ready?
Yep.
I see. Good luck.
No, don't be that ghost.
Don't worry.
We have two of our very distinguished guests. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling very distinguished.
Hi there, and welcome back to episode 4 of Open Mind Safe Spaces. This is a podcast where we have casual conversations about mental health, and we bring exciting guests every single week in order to add on to the same. My name is Ahmed, and I'll be your host for today. Joining us for today's wonderful episode, we have two of our very distinguished guests.
Wow.
We have Karthik and Poojita. Welcome to the show. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling very distinguished.
I'm feeling good. Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking out the time. Not very easy, especially on the topic that we're going to be touching on today. And that is about relationship, but getting your perspective as married couples. Throwing some shade on dating couples or not. We will see where it goes.
Okay.
But to start off like the very trendy topic that's always there, right? Love marriage or arranged marriage?
Arranged marriage.
Okay. So you want us to tell you which we like more?
I mean, you can tell your...
We can't say we like love marriage when we are not
I mean, if
under
you were
that
given
category.
an option to go back and say, okay, either love marriage or arranged marriage, then what would you choose?
You're going back to choose.
If.
If. What is Karthik?
Let's just stick to with your
Okay,
experience
Okay.
of meeting other couples.
He did chance me dance now.
Okay.
Your experience. Like let's start off with like quick introduction. Like how long have you guys been married for? And from there we'll understand different perspectives that we may have with different people that you would have met. Whether it's early couples were there celebrating their decade together. A lot of different permutations and combinations of it to kind of see what makes the relationship click.
Sure. You want to start?
No, the thing is, I zoned out.
Okay, I'll start. See, I think it's a very cliche thing. Firstly, I feel like before you get married, right? A lot of people have come to me and said, "Macha, only a love marriage works." Right? If you do an arranged marriage, what happens is you are then bound by restrictions. You don't know in-laws. There is problems. You may not know the girl. You don't know where the girl came from. In fact, some people have gone to the extent saying you don't know the background of the girl. Right? She could be from anywhere. It's very difficult. But when you're in love, then that perspective is, you know each other. So you know that person very well. You know what ticks that person off. So they think that the boat will be very stable after marriage if it is a love marriage. And I've seen a lot of couples. I mean, more than couples, a lot of elders. A lot of people who say love marriage works. But then the other perspective with parents is that arranged marriage works.
But I think it's a generational thing if you see it. I mean, that question that you asked, Ahmad, is if a love marriage works or arranged marriage works. For us, we've always fantasized that love marriage. It just, the way it's shown for years and decades is that a love marriage is all rosy and nice because you know that person and you are fortunate to have found that love. So you are basically celebrating the love in love marriage, where they are trying to say that in an arranged marriage, you might not find it. So it's more to that, where your love marriage, they're sort of it's more romanticized. Whereas in arranged marriage, it's something your parents have done, worked it out for you, and you might not find the love of your life. And also at that time, finding the love of your life was like one big thing, right? Like we need to find the love of our life and settle down we need to be rich and settle down in our business. So I think now as a lot of people are going out there, young couples, meeting new people, I think there's a reality check, that there are some people who find fortunate to find that love way ahead in their life. And it's sustained for such a long time that it's transformed into a marriage, which is good. And there are some people who have just left it to the universe, which, eventually cosmically you meet, you exchange paths, and maybe with the help of kundlis or parents, you just click. And even that time love happens, that spark happens. So I think it goes both ways, but I feel like that stigma is there, that not stigma, that fantasy of, oh, love marriage is really nice but arranged marriage is a little bleak. I think it's always there, but when you get married, you just know that, forget get married, when you find that right person, you just know that it's not about these terms, it's more about finding that person and sustaining life.
But then there's also a reality check, which you have to also admit that, see, when you're not in love and you're ready to get married, then you don't have much options.
Makes sense.
Right. Now, at that time, you can't sit and go find chasing love, right? I mean,
When
in
you're
fact, I
not
know
when you're not in love and you're ready to get married.
when you're not in love and you're the age to get married.
Okay, like
so,
that.
I mean, from a parent's perspective, it is now better you're old enough, you have to get married, you settle down, blah, 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 blah. Right? At that time, I see a lot of people trying to, in fact, maybe even I've gone out there and tried to search for people, right? Last minute, come on, someone will click. But, it does happen. A lot of people do that, right? They try to find love just from that perspective of, oh, now I'm ready to get married, I need to find someone.
Absolutely.
Right? But I feel like sometimes arranged marriage is better in that sense, because you then say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm not going to be able to find someone just by chasing it from that perspective of, I need to be in love before I get married. Right? Or I need to find the right match before my parents see them. I need to have that whole drama of meeting her for the first time again, and then going to parks and going to films and going to all of that. But
I'm glad we didn't date.
but yeah, I think that is it. It's all perspective of the person who's ready to get married. But I do feel that arranged marriage has a better sustainability, because I feel like when you're in love for a long time, you also know so much about the person. Anyway, you'll get to know new things every day and all of that. But then in an arranged marriage, if you've met the person, you're able to strike a great conversation, you're able to understand at least those basic perspective of who she is, what she likes, what she doesn't like. Not everything, but at least something. You're in it for the longer run, right? You know that every single stage you're going to find out something new. Good, bad, ugly, you learn to deal with it. And how you deal with it eventually, that's how your marriage goes. But yeah, love or arranged, because we got married in an arranged fashion, I'm rooting for arranged right now. But
Yeah.
give me the opportunity.
So you give me the opportunity.
No, I think, like you mentioned, it's very subjective. But the point that you beautifully said, that flexibility needs to be there, rather than just holding on to no, arranged only because love did not work out, or love only because I don't know if I can trust another person. Definitely, we bring in our own set of experiences from previous encounters or relationships, which just adds on to that sour note. Right, which changes, and especially with the amount of social media or movies and music videos kind of romanticizing either aspects of it, makes it also a little challenging. Because like you mentioned, there are so many people who are not getting married because they're still waiting for that spark to happen.
Yeah.
You'll see
that's
that in
true.
K-drama. Suddenly you enter and then there's like
something happens.
somebody happening and coming in, which probably at times can happen, but it's a rare occurrence.
No, I think I honestly feel before someone gets married, one has to shed that perspective of, I need to find a spark.
Right.
They have to be the right person for me. I think before I met Pujita, and when I met her on Shadi.com, by the way, which was something unheard of in my life, my friends, my family, they always knew Karthik as the guy from Christ who's going to get married to a really, good-looking girl,
Make
famous
sure
girl.
your choices of words thought it out.
I mean, it was the generation was such, right?
Right,
I mean,
right,
the 90s kids always had that flamboyant thing of going
But
out
you
there
might
dating.
want to just retract that thing what you just said, where my
Yeah, I finished my
folks
point.
just said that I might want to get married to a good-looking girl.
That was the 90s. It was very flamboyant. It was all Bollywood. It was all of that, right? So, yeah, so I obviously. So the point was, for me, in my circle, no one believed or imagine that I would find someone on Shadi.com.
Right.
Shadi.com for us also at that time was a very like, yuck, who the fuck finds, or who the hell finds someone on Shadi.com, right? But then, yeah, I think I learned a very valuable lesson just before when I was ready to get married. I think the thing that I shared was, listen, hey, you got to be open now, right? If you're going out there with a perspective of, I want the girl to be like this, like this, like this. I have 5 pointers written. She has to match good looking. She has to match great conversation. She has to match XYZ things. You're eventually going to go there and do an interview, right? I think what is more important is deep down say, hey, I'm ready to get married. Can I be that person who's there for her, or can I look at it from that perspective of, I'm ready for marriage, so I'm ready for anything. I'm ready for a bad I'm ready for, let's say, complication in the marriage. I'm ready for, let's say, many other things that would come up, right? Being ready in that front is more important than going there to see if we match.
Right.
Now, can you shed that behavior of, I want to be a romantic guy and have the right perspectives? I think that is when you truly become ready to get married, and that's where arranged marriage work. And I learned that when I met Pujita for the first time through Shadi.com, and we met there, I was like, it's okay. We'll go there, we'll talk to her, we'll see. There is no judgment, there's no prejudgment, there's no expectation. And that conversation happened in that manner where we said, okay, we can have another chat. Right? And
I think that is one perspective where he said that, he actually gave that online portal a try, and he was quite optimistic about it. I was on the other side of the spectrum where I didn't want to be associated with it. I didn't want, I just felt like it was just not cool to get married like that and all that. But also because it felt like, it feels like there's no one out there for you because you didn't get your meet cute. So it feels like there's no one there out for you, and your life has gone on till like you're 26, 27, and then you're like, okay, now what? Now leave it. Everything that had to happen should have happened in the early 20s
college time.
or something.
You're supposed to come out from college having a great.
Because at that time I had friends who were in relationships, I think 3 years, 5 years, very long relationships, long distance relationships. And it just felt like, okay, maybe it's not going to work out. And I mean, the guys I met also did not help the case. So it just was not a good option for me. I think when I met Karthik is also when, again, went to see him. I was forced to go see him, in fact. And then I spoke to him and just felt like, okay, maybe I need to give it a chance.
And she had a spy sitting next to us, by the way. Yeah?
And then
you need that supporting system.
need that support system. So I
mean, she didn't know if I was a creep, right? I mean,
yeah, that is also there.
I mean, that's one thing with arranged marriages. You don't know who you're going to meet.
You need to make sure you have your bodyguard next to you when you go meet.
You just don't know who you're meeting. And yeah, there were a couple of guys who just were too, I think they had their own issues, they had their own troubles. In fact, one guy, told me that, I eat non-veg, but don't tell my parents I eat non-veg. And I was like, dude, this is not going to happen, dude. It's just not going to happen. And I think that there was that perspective. And after I met Karthik, I realized that it's also okay to give yourself that chance, that it's okay for you to find that someone, that special someone, and find love in someone else, which you're not going to find in general. And it's all about, I mean, like he said, he was talking about the fact that you need to be ready for you to find that particular someone. The fact that he was ready made me ready, because if he was not ready, I would have told no and all that. Although I did really like him, I wouldn't have taken the first step. But the fact that he was ready gave me a lot of confidence to say yes to him. So I think that's where it helps, I also realized that although when I saw Karthik, it just clicked. I just knew it's going to happen, because the first time I saw his number, I didn't save it. But for some reason, I just thought to myself saying, I need to buy heart this number because I need to remember this number for a long time. And then I just snapped out of saying, I don't even know this guy. Why should I? So it works out in a very different way. It's not a typical, oh my God, you see someone, and maybe it works out for some people like that, and that's beautiful to even hear and watch it. But sometimes reality is most of it, and it's lovely when it blossoms. It's lovely when there's a little seed and you see it grow, and you're seeing it grow in the other person, and it's lovely. A part of you grow in the other person is just lovely. So yeah.
Yeah, and saying I love you takes some time. You meet someone in a marriage.
I'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to
that. I will.
Yeah, very confusing that was, no? I don't remember when though.
So on that note, you were mentioning about how it was difficult in the early days of once the marriage got set, right? That people were talking about how your freedom is going to go. I think there's a very common stigma that goes on around marriage itself. I think both for men as well as women. But there's also a lot of expectations from the society. A lot of times, I think couples are also not, or men or either women are not too keen on getting married because either their life is not set, they don't possess certain skill set. There's a lot of expectation that, okay, finance, 6 feet, blue eyes, a lot of different trends, and people actually stick to it, right? So what would you say about the roles and responsibilities for you all, right? Without knowing each other, getting into it, how did you develop that, and what do you think with current trends, a woman's roles and responsibility and a man's roles and responsibility would be in a marriage?
I think that's, anyways, the start of it is quite scary when you meet someone, and I think you have an individual list in your head saying, this is my checklist, and you want to, most of us have that, right? Like, we want our parents to be settled, we want to buy a house and a car and then get married. But reality is, as we grow up, we also face reality, and we know that this is not going to happen, and time flies by. So that checklist is, most of the time, doesn't work. I think what we need to keep in mind is the fact that, like, for example, when you meet someone, right? The fact that, and this is something that I tell all my girlfriends and when they had to get married, I think if a man can provide security, I think it's a go. Forget anything else. If a man can provide security, that helps a woman or helps a girl actually survive that entire marriage and make that marriage even better. And also, marriage again is just not the couple, it's also the families coming together. So, like in the first part of your question, the roles and responsibilities, I feel like during the marriage, when the marriage is set, there's a lot of responsibility put on the girl to behave a certain way, and there are a couple of things that a girl needs to get done before marriage, and those kind of things. Even the girl's family has to get done, so there's a lot of convincing also happening. So that is there for a girl. For a guy, maybe the same. But I feel like for a guy, it hits on, because I've seen my husband go through that. It hits after marriage, I feel like there's a jolt after marriage where, you're done with the wedding, you get back home, and the next day, you're the man of the house. Like, you need to take care of the house. And suddenly they grow up, and that's something I feel really bad for men, for boys, I would say, not men, because I do know that boys are little more, I mean, you being a psychologist, you would know that, right? Girls possess a little more mature social norms. They understand social norms better and they adapt to it, whereas men, boys are not that adaptive, and they're a little naive as well. So I feel that sometimes...
So I mean, okay, but I'll tell you what. The thing is, there is a stereotype of a man is supposed to do X, Y, Z things when he gets married, right? He's supposed to provide for the family. He's supposed to be the main breadwinner. He's supposed to protect the wife. He's supposed to protect the family.
There's so many things
At the same time, he's supposed to say men and women are the same. Now, it can get a little confusing.
Wait a minute.
It can get a little confusing, especially in the start of the marriage, when you start to question things like, hey, we're on the same page, right? You and me are equals, but you're coming to my family and I'm supposed to take care of you. Yeah, we get that. But then there is this stereotype of, I married you, so I'm expecting that you would take care of me. Now, I can probably
No, I'm
ask the
not
same
talking
thing,
about
the
that.
same question. No, the roles, right? Just in terms of the roles and responsibilities of a man
but
and a woman. It can also be looked at from the perspective of, hey, you're marrying me, I decided to marry you, you decided to marry me, we're on the same page. Why don't you look after me? Right? So men do go through that pressure of having to deal with taking care of the family, the wife, and taking care of the fact that we have to be treated as equals, not like anybody should be treated as lower or below, above or niche. But the thing is, there is this stigma also of saying, when you get married, you have to treat her like she's equal to you. Men and women are
But that's
equal.
not told, right?
I mean,
In
they're
Indian
not-
marriages,
it's not told, but it's
told.
expected.
Okay, I'll tell you what. You are aware of it because you know that in general marriages, nobody is told, no guy is told that you need to treat your wife like an equal. That's never told. I'm fortunate that you think that way.
No, I think
And
I
she
think
is that way.
currently with stats also that we see nowadays, right? There's a recent study that came out that says that 9% of individuals don't want to get married at all. So there is some sort of fear and stigma that's running around. Adding on to what you're mentioning, previously what would happen is, you were right, men wouldn't have, like, men, nobody would tell that you need to treat a person this way. But I think with regards to a lot of different, policies and rules and everything that's coming out, and how certain individuals would be misusing their rights that are there, now the men are actually scared of certain things that may happen, because you never know when a case
That's
is going to
true.
come in, when it's
That's
going to
true.
be used against you. So what I've seen currently is that there's a lot of, not brainwashing, but setting of expectation that, okay, as a guy, you're supposed to do this, you can't do this, you need to
there's a lot of conditioning
exactly
done. Yeah.
right. And like, so what has happened is that that's shifted. Probably there was a lot of conditioning for women, now it's changed to men. We don't know what's going to happen in the next few decades, but we do see that that shift is happening, which is leading to a lot of women being okay and happy to say, wanting
Just
to
going,
get settled.
yeah, that
But
I
a guy
agree.
is very scared and
I agree.
apprehensive until
I
and unless,
agree.
like you mentioned, those checklists that are there are not fulfilled. Whether it's a house, whether it's car, because everybody says, hey, you're only earning this much.
Yeah, or after 1 year, you're expected to have a car.
Exactly.
Right? And
Or
after
a
2 years, you're
house.
expected to have a bigger car. Right? And after 3 years, you expect to have a house.
But so how do we break this? Because no matter how much we do talk about it, and from your own experience, you may be able to say like, hey, it's not. But based on experiences and what they would have heard, like how the dowry thing would be a thing that it would be like an unsaid thing. There are unsaid things that a guy should also now need to bring in these different aspects with him, and the girl also, that you need to possess these skills, or you need to socialize well, you need to cook, whatever that their in-laws are going to be expecting. So how do we now help these individuals who are in the space that they want to get married but are not able to, because of how society is kind of bringing in these unsaid rules or responsibilities? Because these are not responsibilities that you I have sat together and be like, I need to do this.
Yeah, that's
Because I'm
true.
pretty sure if what we've seen is when two people sit and talk to each other, and when these questions come, they're like, I'm okay with the fact that you don't earn this much, or I'm okay with the fact that we have a small
exactly.
life. But it's still not sitting in well, because there is something that we have to live up to society.
It's always like that, and that's not going to go, Ahmad. That's not going to go, because you remember how before dowry was such a that everyone was getting it. Like, it was this term that you have to
Directly,
eventually
indirectly,
It was
somehow.
there.
get it.
It's part of
But now it's more, we're not going to do it anymore. It's not happening. So I feel like even over the years, that will also mellow down, where the families will eventually start saying that, they have their own life and they spoke it out and they know what to do. But I do agree with you when you said that there are certain people who are scared to get married because of all these inhibitions. And I think men, okay, if I have to talk about men are a little scared to get married, or scared is a word?
Anxious, scared.
Anxious or scared to get married right now. And I'm talking about 30 plus men who, 30 plus, can I say? Can I? Okay. Hey, I honestly feel men who
So
are...
basically, she's already telling you, right? And now you're
Wait.
30, that means
done.
you have to
You
get
need to
married.
No, for me,
So
I
if,
feel like...
if a girl sees someone above 30, the first thing they're saying is, oh, he's already okay, 30.
Wait, no, I'm saying men who are 26, 27, I feel they're too young to get married. I feel that way, okay? Because
But I always felt you should marry someone your same age, but that changed.
yeah, that's also there. Oh yeah, that's also there.
We will get to that. Let's finish this particular thing and we'll get to age.
Oh yeah. So what was I saying? 30
Above
plus
30.
with respect to what was
With
I
respect to
saying?
someone like a man. Like,
The roles and
So about
responsibilities.
roles and responsibilities. So men, I've seen that they're a little anxious to meet women who are above 30 because they feel like
There's an
it's-
intellectual clash.
There's an intellectual clash. And we also know that women who are about 30 are a little more because you've been alone all that while, you just reserved, you know, everything is set in your life with respect to money, with respect to family, everything's set. They are open to love, but I feel like men right now are a little more cautious about it because they don't. I also feel like sometimes they think that women above 30 are eager to have children. So if the minute you get married to them, they're like, I want a baby now. But then that's not the thing. I mean, women above 30, I mean, whichever age, a woman right now, her first priority is not a child. In a very good sense, it's not a child. And it's okay, right? I think right now, because everything's revolving around it, the new age man might be getting a little cold feet right now because he doesn't want to immediately become a dad. But I feel that's a misconception. And maybe that's why, because I personally met my friends who are about 30 and they are worried about these things, you know. And I've never thought.
I mean, at that stage, then the responsibility only be get married, immediately have a child. So
and they're
it's
worried
like
about that.
a pretty holding the
They
neck.
don't get that space and time, like how
Not
you
at all,
mentioned. Because
yeah.
again, it's not a love marriage anymore. Like it's an arranged marriage, you don't know the other person. So they're like, how can I
And
believe
right now
that this
they're
person
okay
can be like a
with this.
parent? I think that's a question.
And
that
right
comes.
now they're okay with this arranged marriage, right? Everyone on Bumble, everyone on Twitter, it's sort of that arranged marriage setup only, where you're putting yourself out there, you're okay to accept people, and you're skimming through what you don't want. Because you've already met so many people, and now you know what you don't want, which is easier for you to choose what you want. So I think that's the way it's going. Even women now are, I think for them, they don't want to give up their job. They don't want to give up their career. And not job, their career, you know. And that financial independence that comes along with it, I think that's something they're scared to lose out on.
Or maybe I feel some men just get the kick of arranged marriage because they feel like, okay, I'm not obligated to do it now. Right? I'm just putting that spin around and answering one of those questions, saying, how do we get others to understand how roles and responsibilities work? I think one, it's very important for the women or the girl or the lady who's getting married to put her foot down and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I like. And it might be this thing of you have to do it or not, but this is generally how I do my things.
I think this is one more thing. On that note, I want to add that the only way to get out of it for people right now who are exploring this avenue is by setting boundaries. I think that is the new age. I think it's coming up with our parents as well, where we're setting boundaries, and it comes with a lot of resistance, but you have to set boundaries, and that's going to give you that freedom of expression as well. And as long as the husband and wife have each other's back, no, and you have that boundary set saying, this is the line, you don't cross it, whoever you are, it just works. That time it works.
I think, like, to sum up everything that you mentioned, first is clarity about your own self as to what you need also, rather than just depending on to the other person. Hey, you know what, you fulfill my needs.
That is never there.
That's not going to, what I see, work in any sort of relationship, especially a marriage, because their commitment is done and it's dusted.
That's true, because you can't find happiness in others. You just cannot find happiness in others. It's what, if you're happy within, that's when, because why put that headache on your partner, man? It's not his duty to keep me happy.
So if I were to ask one question, like where we can just say, you know, one word or statement that comes into our mind that helps us to keep individual differences while there is togetherness as well. Like, what makes a marriage where you can both be your own individuals? If you can have just one word, whether it's a hobby and interest that you tend to do, or what you feel like people should focus on in order to be together as a unit, but also have your individual identities without having that need of dependency.
I think give each other space. What do you think?
Space, I think space also as a word is overused, right? I mean, I might be overusing it as well, but I feel like giving each other giving each other the time. I feel more than space
Yeah,
is to give that person time to evolve. Right now, for instance, when in any setup, right, any marriage setup, arrange, love, whatever, there's multiple moving items, multiple changing things. More than space, it requires time to heal. It requires time to grow. So having this thing of saying, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a race. I'm not competing. And I'm not looking at a third person and saying, hey, I need to be that person. I need to be that marriage. Our relationship needs to be to that level. Yeah, I think that gives individuality, us, our individual characters. It builds over time. And then you see in that time that, hey, you know what, she might be right. And she says, hey, you know what, he might be right. So at the end of the day, time heals more than space. Right? Space can build divide, but
yeah, I agree. I would definitely take that back. I think space is an incorrect term to use for this. I think time heals. You give the other person time. You give the other person time to heal, develop, and even work on themselves. So even marriage is in such a way that that person is immediately not going to be flexible. Some people are not flexible, adaptable, but they eventually become because they're working on themselves. So I think giving yourself time and the other person time, saying, hey, okay, you can't, I know you're not able to figure this out right now. And maybe next time this happens, so you're not also fixing a time, a limited time of, in 1 week or 2 weeks, you're going to figure this out. If this situation triggers you again, next time, then you can deal with it in a different way. And that's why individually you start developing, saying, okay, if this person can believe in me, I'm going to do that. So time is the right concept for this as a solution.
Right. I think we've always heard space. I think you've given a very good perspective about it's not that it's the space, but the time that you tend to give.
Space is, like you said, it's just overused, I feel.
I think as long as you're also communicating that, hey, boss, I'm giving you this time and we're going to work through it. Because a lot of times, again, space also is like you give the space and nothing happens, or time is given but nothing happens. But communicating, setting that expectation straight and being like, you know what, take this time in order for you to work on it. But at the end of the day, you're not going anywhere.
And sometimes not communicating is also okay, Emma. Like, for instance, you have a fight or you have an argument, and the best thing to do at that time is not communicate.
Absolutely.
Is just say, hey, space and time, I just need my area, I need to walk out, and you need to be okay with that. And everything doesn't boil down to at that time we were communicating right or we were communicating wrong. I think you had a situation, I had a situation. Now you want to keep quiet about it, and then eventually you will talk when you know that time has
Babe,
come.
I'll tell you one more thing, what you told me that was very helpful. When we talk about time, right? When we have an argument, I'm this kind of person who needs to have a conclusion at the end. I need to understand, okay, this happened. Now this is the conclusion. I need a solution for it. The solution need not be like this is what we're going to do next. But I need like a mudda. At the end of the day, what is the point
Now what's
of this?
the point?
Now what's the point of this?
I mean, one quick example to back this up. So when we initially met, I think we met. I mean, on Shadi, everybody knows that now. After that, after a few days, I stopped texting her. I think we were just texting each other, and my texting was more like, hey, good morning, good night, did you eat, blah, 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 blah. And then I just decided to stop texting her because I was like, why should I take the effort? No, excuse me. See, this is exactly what I'm saying. Right? Now, I want to say, why should I take the effort? Why can't she be the one messaging me first?
Yeah.
Right? So she didn't. So I didn't.
Yeah.
She didn't. I didn't. And it went on for a week. Right? Where we just, in spite of seeing each other, we met, we liked each other, we could talk, there was conversation, there was communication, all of that was great. But then at one point you snap and you say, should I take all the effort? And her mudda thing I'm coming to now is at the end of the 7th day, she calls and she says, I'm not seeing a learning curve.
Hey, 1 minute. I need to go back a bit. If Emma needs details, after that 7th day, no, 1 minute. 7th day, I did not call Emma. I receive a call from sir saying there is RCB match today. We will go watch RCB match. And I'm like, dude, I'm not coming to watch a match and all. But then, yeah, I did say that I'm not seeing any, like, there's nothing happening.
There's no growth, there's no learning, there's nothing
So
happening.
I'm that kind of person who needs that, okay, where is this going? What is happening? And Karthik gave me one very important advice, which was everything does not need a solution. You don't have to find a solution to something. If you have a problem, if you feel like you can't solve it by the end of the day, it's fine. You can take 2-3 days to solve a problem. And that even helped me professionally, because I was like, oh my God, I don't have to solve a problem immediately. I can dwell over it. But then that actually eased down our arguments, because I didn't have to go badgering him saying, Karthik, you tell me what is the consequence of this. Even if I have to take the consequence, I'll take it, but I need to know the consequence. So that time he told me that you just take your time, I'll take my time, we'll think about it, and then we'll see where it goes. We don't have to come up with a solution right now, because we don't need a solution. It's not like a do or die thing. We're still going to be here together. So that helped out our relationship a lot. And one more thing with respect to time is, we sort of do this thing for the past 6 years where every month we have like a review. Okay. And we just we just go out for a drink and just feel like, okay, how did the last 6 months go? Or how did the last 3 months go? Where did we find issues? And everything. Like, it includes gossip also, everything. But a general review of how he felt, how I felt. And I would also tell him, what do you like about me in this last 6 months and all. It's very,
I mean, that happens almost every day.
Reassurance is there.
You have to reassure.
How you mentioned. So what I understand from your dynamic is that every couple has their own way of solving it. Right now, this is what worked for you because you communicated, you were able to accommodate, acknowledge it, and that's what helped. Because for some people, it may not work, some people may come up with their own. But as long as there is clear-cut communication and telling that, hey, this is how I function, how do you function, and then you find that middle ground, that's the secret to a 6-year-old marriage.
6-year-old marriage comes after 6-year-old. Don't expect that first year and all. Don't expect first year, second year, or don't expect. Just wait it out.
I think the biggest problem in the first day and the first year of marriage is sharing your space.
Oh my God, that's
I
the
think we have a
worst
lot of
thing
different
ever.
topics to touch upon.